Um, just a reminder that permission to film the meeting has been requested and granted, so anyone that doesn't wish to be filmed should just be aware of the location of the camera. Couple of amendments to the agenda. 5.1.2, just council was given a copy of the policy that hadn't been included in the agenda initially. The addition of 5.2.1 on residential organic curbside collection, and 5.2.2, the Gibsons Way Improvement Project. Both of those coming forward from committee this afternoon. 6.1, some additional input that was handed out to council here this evening. And number 11, motion to close the addition of a reason under section 90 sub A, we're dealing with personal information. So with those amendments, ask for a motion to approve the agenda, please. Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Lumley, all in favor, and that's carried. One set of minutes to adopt from February 6th. I'll have a mover of that as well, please. Councillor Lariat, Councillor White, thank you. All in favor, and that's carried as well. 5.1.1, motion to receive the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of February 6th, please. Councillor Lariat, thank you. Councillor White, thank you. All in favor, and that's carried. 5.1.2, so that's the animal control call-out procedure that was discussed at committee, and just there for the approval of the revised policy. So again, Councillor Valeriat, Councillor White, all in favor, and that's carried as well. Brings us to 6.1, liquor license. So I guess first of all, do you have anything to report on this one, Ms. Stats? Oh, sorry, did I miss one? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm sorry. 5.2. Okay, residential organic curbside collection program. This came forward from committee meeting earlier today. I really, at this point, I just asked for a mover, first of all, to get it out there. Councillor Valeriat, Councillor Sanchenko, second. Any discussion on that one? And if not, that's, yes, okay, so the bylaws later on, right? Yeah, okay, all in favor then? And that one's carried. 5.2.2, this is the Gibsons Way Improvement Project, and it has to do with some cost overruns that we've had on that staff needs to get on with so that we can make sure this project gets completed this spring. So Councillor Lumley will move that. Second, Councillor Valeriat. And all in favor then, and that's carried as well. 6.1. Liquor license amendment, and I guess actually that one's just for the license, right? And then 6.2 is to deal with the actual various permit. Yep. Go ahead.
Development permit. Okay. So Gibsons Tack Works has applied to the Liquor Control Licensing Branch to add a covered rooftop patio and extend operating hours. Currently, operating hours are from noon to 11, Sunday to Thursday, and noon to midnight, Friday and Saturday. The new operating hours are proposed from 9 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. The Liquor Control and Licensing Branch is requesting a resolution from Council with comments on the liquor license amendment, specifically regarding the impact of noise on nearby residents, the impact on the community if the application is approved, the views of residents, a description of the method used to gather views, and whether or not the application should be approved. The town notified neighbors within 100 meters of the property on February 7th. 65 responses were received within the time frame, and one was received about an hour late. Of the total 66 responses received, 3 opposed and 63 supported the change. The comments on the opposition pertain to noise and parking. So page 3 of the staff report outlines a template, sort of a template on how council can respond. So in terms of the impact of noise on nearby residents, where it says whereas, that would be the main response, and then the two therefores, it would be either therefore council supports the liquor license or therefore council has concerns. So council is requested to choose a support or concern for each of the subject areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stat. So, first of all, at this point, I would ask if there is anyone present that wishes to make any submissions with respect to this particular application. And I'll ask a second time if anybody wishes to make any submissions with respect to this. And then I'll ask a last and final time if anybody wishes to make any submissions. Okay, so hearing none, we'll proceed on the basis of the submissions that have been received by council through staff. There are specific resolutions there for us to consider. I think I'll just start into those and we'll go from there. So the first one has to do with the impact of noise on nearby residents. Can staff tell me if they're aware of any noise complaints that have been lodged since Tapworks has been in operation down there? And I appreciate that's may not be within your knowledge. You haven't been here that long, but I certainly haven't seen anything brought to our attention. So I'm just asking if there's any awareness.
No, we didn't. I'm not aware of any noise complaints for the proposal.
All right. So I think the question is, do we have council prepared to move the first recommendation there, or what? Councillor White? Councillor White will move that one. So the council support the liquor license amended application, finds that Gibsons Tackworks Ltd. have proposed appropriate measures to limit the impact of noise on nearby residents. Seconder, Councillor Valeria. Further discussion? All in favor then? And that's carried. Impact on the community, if the application is approved, and the resolution that's there, subject to any other resolutions that a member of council might wish to put forward, would be that council supports the liquor license amendment as presented and finds that the existing tasting lounge has had a positive overall impact on the community. Is there a mover of that one? Councillor Lumley. Councillor White, second. Is there further discussion on that one? Councillor Valeria.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, Mr. Mayor, that this is a really good example of earning social license. So this group of business owners has obviously, based on the number of letters of support, gone above and beyond in terms of generating support with and by being good community members. So I think it's a good way forward rather than over-regulating. We can, based on the experience to date, we can trust that they'll try and continue to keep their neighbors happy. So as far as it being a positive overall impact, I think that shows in the submissions we've had and what I've seen so far.
Thank you.
I just want to second that, and I'm sorry I missed the original conversation at our last meeting. I do recall voicing some encouragement to get out and talk to your neighbors and build community. So I'm happy to see that that's being done. I will say that I hope I continue to hear glowing remarks, and I trust the leadership of this business. I'm not going to say that I am totally jumping up and down about the 9 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. I'm going to trust the leadership of your group to monitor that and continue to build that community support.
Okay, thank you. All in favor then? And that one's carried. Last one is view of residents and description method to gather the views. So resolution. Oh, sorry, is that response to comments? One or two on the last page. Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. All right. The council supports the proposed liquor license amendment for the for Tapworks in light of the comments received. Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor White. Second, then Councillor Valerian. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried then. All right. And I'll just punctuate Councillor Sanjanko's comments by saying that yes, the track record has been good so far. It's very important that the operators continue to maintain the same care and approach to the neighborhood there as well. Okay, so we don't have ongoing issues. It's been a very successful venture from what I can see up to this point, and I hope that we'll continue to operate in the same respectful manner that it has. Okay, 6.2, Ms. Stats. Sorry, Councillor White had a comment?
Next piece of this, or?
Yeah, which is the variance? Oh. Yeah, 6.2.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Question
yep.
At the end.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify, this is just a development permit. It's not a variance. Okay. So the proposal is a covered rooftop patio addition with pedestrian access stairs. And this is just an image of it, and we'll go through it in detail further. So the purpose of the report is to evaluate the proposed addition to Gibsons Tapworks against the OCP's Form and Character Development Permit Area Guidelines. So this is an aerial image of the site, accessed from Cruis Lane, surrounded by residential on the north and commercial on the south. The neighboring building to the immediate northeast is a 3-story mixed-use building with commercial on the ground level and residential on the 2nd and 3rd story. The application was referred to the Advisory Planning Commission on November 24th, and the APC recommended that the stairs be redesigned to feature more of the natural wood, providing a warmer and more inviting character, and that there be a definition of the landscape treatment that is envisioned on the building in order to enhance the existing landscaping. So here's a 3D rendering of the design. So to address the APC comments, the applicant incorporated more natural wood features into the design along the staircase. And along the staircase and under the eaves of the staircase. The intent of the guidelines is to foster design that retains, reinforces, and enhances the village scale and character of the harbor area while providing for improvements and change. So the guidelines recommend a maximum 2-story height and that the 2nd story be set back following the site contours. The design addresses those guidelines. There's also a covered rooftop patio open to ocean views. Sorry, I'm just... Oops. Why is this not working? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Sorry. I can't change this. Hang on.
Which one do you want us to? We've got it on the iPads. Which one do you want us to?
Oh, my mouse just stopped working here, and I can't scroll through.
That's why we use paper.
No, that switches. I'm trying to do this electronically. Oh goodness. I'm gonna have to wing it. All right. Okay. Okay, so the planting that they've proposed is to retain the mature trees on the site, and they're going to remove the alders and the blackberries at the back and plant native species instead. They're also adding a green wall. And to address the APC comments, they haven't determined the species yet, but they're trying to find species that can last year-round. They're also adding flowers at the bottom of the stair, at the landing of the stairs, to make it greener. In terms of lighting, the guidelines encourage indirect low-level lighting and natural lighting. So it's open and it's intended to be lit with natural light during the day, and at nighttime they're going to use dim lighting, so globe lighting that can be dimmed. In terms of the policy about the street level use and transparency, the building has the 4 windows at the street level, so that addresses the transparency guideline. There's a guideline about architectural features and windows, and the railing on the rooftop patio is used with glass surrounded with wood frames to meet that guideline. And in terms of the roof, the guidelines discourage flat roofs unless they are green, but staff note that the roof style does not impact views and fits with the surrounding buildings. In terms of the materials and colors, the guidelines encourage exposed wood posts and beams, which the addition shows. So here's an image from Gibsons Way looking down at the pedestrian access that's proposed. So overall, staff's recommendation is that staff consider the rooftop addition meets the form and character guidelines, and therefore staff recommend that council authorize the issuance of the development permit. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Stantz. And Councillor White? Sorry, I thought you had a question. Okay. Councillor Valerian?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have no problem with the development permit, and I'm willing to move it or second it. But I just wanted to make sure I fully understand. We talked last time about occupancy, and the proponents said they didn't want to change the occupancy at this point, but want to be clear on the process to increase the occupancy. So that would come to council, maybe through Mr. Mayor to staff. That would come to council, and we would talk about occupancy and parking and any other issues at some future date. Is that how that would, or I guess what is the instrument for increasing occupancy?
Yeah, so to increase the occupancy, they would need to apply for a variance to relax the parking provision. So that would come through council for final decision.
Sir Lumley, then Councillor White.
When I applied for my patio, I wasn't on council, but I do remember my occupancy permit and my parking. And sorry, I've been away, but the patios have no impact on parking. At least my occupancy for my patio was just purely based on whatever the fire department said I could put out there. I didn't need to increase my parking at all when I structured my patio. I don't know if has the bylaw changed since then. Like a patio they would have to provide parking for a patio. Just.
It depends on the maximum occupancy of the building. So right now they're at 52 is the maximum capacity. With the addition, technically it could increase, but they won't be allowed to increase because they don't have the parking. So if they did want to increase the occupancy of the building, then they would need to go through the variance process.
Again, I apologize. I haven't reviewed the parking or the occupancy, but to my understanding that if it's a patio, like an open patio, it has no impact on parking whatsoever. That's my understanding. I don't know if that's. I'm just asking. That's all. Like, if they're going to increase the occupancy of their building, I can totally get with that because I know that those are the rules. But to my understanding, that patios have no bearing on parking whatsoever. I know. Those are the questions. Like, or if they enclosed it or anything like that. That was just my question. But I didn't think patios had any bearing on parking. So anyway.
Um, Presumably, we'll hear back from you on that topic.
Yeah, I can look into that. I'm not sure what the rules were before.
Okay, Councillor White.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, this is probably going back 4 planners ago, right? So it might be a different interpretation, but it would certainly be worth checking how it's been interpreted in the past to try to be fair to. And the question I was going to ask does connect to this, and that is that I think the last time this came up, we discussed the parking bylaw and its datedness, I guess I could say. And I think there was an interest, certainly by council at that time, to review it. I don't know if we actually passed a formal motion to do it. I don't know if it's on. There was certainly an indication that it would be reviewed at that time, and I'm just wondering if that's in the works, if it's in the work plan, or if it's something that can be added, or if we should pass a motion to make sure it is.
So a motion was passed to do a review of the parking in the landing area. It is in the work plan.
Thank you.
Timeline on that yet? I know it's the timeline on nothing yet. It's just keeping your head above water so far. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Did we move that? Oh, okay, Councillor Valerian, second then. Councillor White. All right, all in favor then, and that's carried. Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Stats. Council reports, Councillor Valerian.
Just very quickly, it's good to be back at full strength and have all our councillors back for the spring and budget. I'll just comment really quickly on a couple of SCRD things from last week. One is a fair bit of discussion about another brewery, Persephone, and they're trying to come into compliance on ALR, Agricultural Land Reserve, Building Code, and Zoning, and that referral will come to the town because the district of Seashelt asked for it to come to them as well. So there was a few comments about Persephone at that meeting, and then water, the unfolding saga of water. Of course, I won't try and the press did a pretty good job of covering the last week and a half ago's meeting, but obviously a challenging, complex problem, but hopefully the SCRD working its way towards a solution. That's all for me. Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor White.
I attended, in my liaison role with the library, I attended a library board meeting on the weekend, and the new library director there, Heather Evans-Cullen, is very interested in getting to know our staff. She's very outgoing and community-minded, and now that she's on board and has been there a while, and we've got new people who are finding their legs and way around, and people are back from holiday, I think we can probably hope to set some kind of meeting up so Heather can connect with our staff. As far as the Sunshine Coast Homelessness Advisory Committee is going to be meeting this week, I believe. So that's the first time in a long time. It's mostly just been a lot of work in that area by various agencies. So getting them all together to reflect on how things have been going and talk about what's next is what will be very valuable. And I understand from all I hear, the shelter is going very, very well here in Gibsons. It's very calm, and I just popped by this evening, and it's very comforting atmosphere and quiet, and that's good to see. I also understand some people who are there have found housing, so I mean that's really exciting that they've been able to kind of find a footing at the shelter and then be able to find a place of their own to stay. And also related to housing, a representative from BC Housing visited last week, and we took her on a tour that was as the homelessness rep and our CAO, and she met the director of planning as well. And we also took her on a tour of the RCMP site, and BC Housing is really very, very interested and motivated in looking at supportive housing on that site. And we continue to work together with them, and I think the the provincial budget today is more positive news in that direction, and there's some opportunities for funding such a project.
Councillor Sanchenko.
I'll just quickly report in from the Gibsons Chamber, just a couple of announcements from their board meeting on Friday. The Sunshine Coast Business Excellence Awards is this weekend on the 23rd. Don't know if there's still tickets available, but I just wanted to remind people if they're interested in attending that, and also to consider participating in that for next year. And also their AGM is coming up in about a month on March 16th, the Gibsons Chamber AGM. And yes, that's featuring guest speaker Mayor Josie Osborne. I will not be able to attend that AGM. I'll be out of town, but I'm hoping to also connect with the mayor, hoping she can get here a day early to have a visit. So, but I would, again, just a couple of reminders. March 16th is the other date.
Thank you. Councillor Lumley.
Like I said, I've been away, and on my return, I'd just like to, I guess posthumously thank Terry Rhodes for his efforts in this community. Fortunately, he lost his battle with cancer. Very sad to hear that when I got home. And I got to know him quite well over the years. He also chaired the harbor, the landing authority, and got to know him there, worked with him there, and then he's also an important member of this community and volunteered and supported. You would see him and Sue at every event supporting the community in positive ways, and he will be missed. So I would just like to thank him and say that how sorry I am.
Yeah, thank you very much for raising that. It was certainly a loss to our community. We have sent a card on to Sue, his wife, and Terry has been very active in the Harbor Authority for quite a few years, and his efforts have been very much appreciated. So it was sad news. Councillor White, again, I'll just, you talked about the sort of cold weather shelter. I just want to commend you for your efforts in coordinating with the various agencies to sort of help get that forward, given the conditions that we've seen in the last few days and will continue to see. I think that was a very positive step, so thank you for your work on that. Okay, 8.1, just receive the correspondence there from FCM, please. Councillor Valeriot, Councillor Sanchenko, all in favor, and that's carried. 9.1, this is something that Council's been working on for quite a while, and gone through a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, and we're finally at that point, which is the Garbage and Organics Collection and Disposal Bylaw, which is here for first, second, and third reading. The effect of this essentially will be, once it's adopted by Council, is that commencing April 1st, the town of Gibsons will be going to weekly organics pickup and bi-weekly garbage pickup. Our staff and the contractor will be spending a fair bit of time over the next 4 or 5 weeks to help people understand what the program is and to hopefully get ready to adjust to the new collection process. So with that, I think there's a couple of councillors here that have been intimately involved, so one of you should move it. Councillor Valeriot, second Councillor White. All in favor then? Okay, it's first, second, and third reading. There's going to be a need, this has to be adopted before March 1st, so there's a need for a sort of 1-minute council meeting to give final adoption. Councillor White, as Deputy Mayor, will be convening that meeting. He just needs 2 bodies to be able to show up. So consult with the corporate officer and come up with a time and just. If you have a firmed up date, that's fine. Otherwise, you just have to have 24 hours notice, I think, if I recall. You want to just scope that out and
Sure.
out? Or okay, so I'll leave that for you to coordinate. Okay, thank you. Any inquiries at this stage? Just please state your name and place of residence.
I'm Helen Karkner. I live on Maplewood Lane in Gibsons, and I'd just like to share a few comments with those in the audience and Mayor and Council about the homeless shelter. As somebody who's been volunteering there, along with probably 3 or 4 dozen other people who live in Gibsons, we've been bringing meals, taking turns, and signing up on a sign-up sheet so they don't get chili every night. They get variety, so you can check on there and see who's signed up and what they're bringing and so on. And also volunteering for shifts, which means accompanying a professional, a staff person, so that there's 2 people there at all times. And my observation is similar to Councillor White, very peaceful environment. Numbers are stable at about 8 people a night, and on one night I was there were 2 women, and the other night there was 1 woman, so I think that's kind of been about our mix here. But we were there Saturday night, and a young girl who lives about half a block from there, a young girl I know in the neighborhood, came over with the leader of her youth group to drop off 2 big bags of caramel corn they'd made for the folks that were staying in the shelter. And a couple of nights before that, I got a call from a neighbor saying, I have a question for you about the shelter. So you always kind of wonder, what's the question going to be? Just wondered how many people are going to be there tonight, because I was baking cookies and I wanted to bring enough. So going fairly well, I would say, and quite well supported. There's a kind of small town examples, but we're a small town. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, probably I was remiss in not acknowledging residents in our community who have stepped forward as volunteers, because the organization that's managing it don't have the bodies to do it alone, and so they are depending on citizens stepping forward. And so thank you very much for that. And I think it will certainly make a difference in the lives of some of these people. And as Councillor White already indicated, a couple of them have been able to move on to some stable housing, or hopefully stable housing, as a result of having the shelter. So thank you very much. With that, then I will ask for the motion to close. Councillor White, Councillor Sanjenko, all in favor, and that's carried. So we'll wait about 5-10 minutes until things get cleared out.